Hey, what's up everybody? Filming from the office today. I decided to make a video about my life and all the things that have brought me to where I am today. If that interests you, keep watching. If you're in this story, or you know somebody in this story, or you know me, and if any of this story upsets you or offends you, I'm sorry. These are just the events that have transpired in my life. These are my thoughts. These are my feelings. It is what it is. If you have a problem, make your own video. I don't know what to tell you. I've got a bunch of pictures and letters and articles and things that I've scanned in, so while I'm telling this story, you don't just have to look at my face. So yeah, if you're interested in that, buckle up. It's gonna be a wild ride. And if you're not into that, find me a good cookie recipe. I'm telling you guys, send it to me. Gotta know. Alright, here we go. Okay, so I was born in June of 1991 to Danelle. Danelle lived with my grandma Lee, and my grandma Lee was kind of the main caretaker of me in my early stages while Danelle was kind of in and out of the house. She had two other children before me, my brothers. I have an older brother named Jeremy and a middle brother named Daniel. Jeremy and I have the same father. I never knew my birth father, and neither is Jeremy. Daniel, our brother, has the same mother, but a different father, Terry. And when Danelle decided that she no longer wanted to be a mom to the two boys, she left Terry, went back to Darren. Darren is me and Jeremy's dad, and got pregnant with me. Then she left Darren. She had me, and the boys never knew that I existed, and I didn't know that they existed until later. I think it's also worth mentioning here that Jeremy and I look like twins, and that he didn't know I existed until last year, and he messaged me on Facebook and was like, "Hey, I think you're my sister," and I was like, "What? Yeah." I knew about him, but I never found him, and I had tried to find him years ago, and it didn't work out. So we've connected, and at some point in our lives, we're gonna meet up and discuss fine arts and literature, and maybe find our dad. I don't know. But we get along really well so far, and we have a lot of similar interests and a lot of like common things between us, so yeah. So anyway, I was 14 months old when Debbie and Richard came into my life. Debbie was a school teacher and working as a parent educator, and she was assigned Danelle's case and came in for home visits to make sure that I was being cared for. When Debbie came into the house, she saw that I was laying on a cockroach-ridden floor. I was drinking Slim Fast. I was begging for a piece of bread that was on top of the refrigerator. Very sad situation to walk into. So Danelle wasn't taking care of me, and Debbie knew she had to take some action on that, so her home visits became more frequent. And she did what she could to make sure that I was cared for. So one night, just out of the blue, Danelle called her Friday night and was like, "Hey, I need some care for Crystal." That was my name. "Do you think you can babysit her?" And Debbie was like, "You know, that's not really my job," but she knew that if she didn't take care of me that night, I probably would have left at the floor of an apartment somewhere. So she was like, "Yeah, that's fine." So she babysat me, and then the night became the weekend, and the weekend became Monday morning, and Debbie had to go back to work. So she was like, "Hey, Danelle, I've been trying to get a hold of you. Like, what's up?" So I went back with Danelle. And this happened back and forth for a few months. And finally, Danelle asked Debbie, "Do you want her?" And my mom, Debbie, was like, "Do I want her? What do you mean?" And she's like, "You know, do you want her? Like, for adoption?" And Debbie was like, "I'm gonna have to talk to my husband, Richard. Just, I don't know, let me think on it." So they finally decided, you know what, yeah, we have to save this little girl's life, otherwise I don't know what's gonna happen to her, you know. Fine, we'll adopt her. So they got started with all the adoption paperwork and the courts and all blah, 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 all that stuff. And right before it was all finalized, Danelle backed out of the adoption and took me back. And my parents were devastated. They were heartbroken. So the judge of the court allowed me to stay with Debbie and Richard for Christmas. And the judge said, "This will be the only Christmas that this little girl ever has. Please give her a good one." So my parents did exactly that. I got cute dresses and toys and games and love and food and a family I had a really awesome Christmas. And then when Debbie had to return me back to Danelle, she said, if you harm one hair on this little girl's head, I will kill you and they will never find your body. So, Danelle took me back for several months, and she's notorious for meeting a man, abandoning whatever life she had, and running off with the new guy. She does that repetitively. That's why she was in and out of my life for the whole 14, 15, whatever, 2 years that she had me. So anyway, so she met someone new while I was back in her care, and she wanted to run off with him. So, unbeknownst to my mom, Richard, my dad, was working magic behind the scenes, and he got the adoption to go through again, and my mom was working as a teacher, and he walked into her classroom with me on his hip, and he said, she's all ours. You have your little girl. My mom fainted, and then she came to and she started crying, and well, it was cute. So, yeah, I was officially a Martinez, and they changed my name from Crystal Lynn to Brianna Margaret Maria Martinez. So, I had a family. I had 2 older brothers, because my dad had 2 kids from a previous marriage. I had Joey and Eric. They were awesome. I got along well with them. They were fun. They used me as babe magnet at the park. It was great. I had a good time with them. I had 2 sets of grandparents, grandparents on each side of the family that loved me very, very much. I love my Lala. I love my Papa. I love my Grandpa and Grandma. And I was finally in like a safe space. I was finally in a family. I was happy. I had godparents. I was baptized Catholic. I went to church. We got dressed up and we went to weddings and we acted as a family. We had ceremonies and celebrations and events and parties and birthday parties, and life was good. I had an awesome house, and I even had a dog. My mom loved to garden, so I had an awesome yard to play in, and I was just living life as a normal little girl. I got to play dress up and face painting, and I played sports. I played basketball, I played soccer, and I made a lot of friends. My mom was super amazing. She is super amazing. And she played blocks with me. She taught me how to swim. She took me on vacations, parades, the zoos, see trains. I was a happy toddler because my mom made my life so wonderful. And I don't know what my life would have been without her. So after I was adopted, I had to undergo a series of doctor's visits and checkups, and it came to light that I was being molested when I was a little girl under Danelle's care, and the proof was in the checkups and in the physicals that I received when I was little. And then I went to the dentist, and my teeth had all been grinded down to almost the root because I was so nervous and so anxious, and I almost had no teeth. Okay, so when I was 7, my parents decided to get a divorce, which kind of broke up the happy family. But, you know, my dad was a really toxic person, and although he was, like, super sweet in person and very well-mannered and mixed company, he did have a really dark side to him, and it only showed behind closed doors. My mom was incredibly protective of me. She did all that she could to shelter me from the demons of Richard, but, you know, I only have a really few, like, hazy memories of them, like, fighting or being, like, really, just really being in an altercation with each other. But I do remember, like, spending an exponentially greater amount of time with my mom than my dad. I remember my dad always being asleep or in bed or in his chair, or he couldn't walk or couldn't get up or couldn't do things. So all of my best memories are with my mom and doing things with my mom. Richard took a lot of pain medicine, and he wasn't healthy, he wasn't well, he didn't take care of himself, and it just, the opioids took over his life, and that's the life he chose. So when my parents divorced, my mom went back to California. She's from Southern California. All her family was there. Her mom, my Lala, was passing away from Alzheimer's, and she needed to be with her family. So I was young, and I didn't understand, like, the concept of divorce. I just knew that my mom was leaving. I was losing my house. I had to stay with my dad. So the courts favored my father, and I moved into a 2-bedroom apartment with him, and it was pretty miserable because I lost about half my stuff and all my friends. So I got to visit my mom every summer and every other Christmas, and the first summer I came to visit was the last time I got to see my Lala. I love my Lala so much, and she loved me too. She didn't suffer very long. It was a pretty quick but very devastating way kind of to see someone go from so normal into a completely vegetative state and then just pass away. It's pretty heartbreaking. My mom was pretty crushed, and it wasn't until I was older that I realized how like really brave and strong my mom was. She endured a divorce, she lost her daughter, had to watch her mother pass away, and then she had to completely rebuild her life. So I'm like really proud of my mom. At the time, you know, I was a kid, so I was like, this is crazy. But like now, it's nuts. That's just taking on the weight of the world and pushing through. It's amazing. So visiting my mom was fun because we always had like a lot of special time together. I spent time with my aunt and my uncle and my cousins, and I felt a really particular kinship to my youngest cousin, and she had a really like soft, like tempered way about her, and she always made me feel really comfortable, and she was really sweet. So I spent a lot of time with her and them, and that was fun. And at Christmas time, I felt super happy and around my mom, and it was all decorated nice, and she always took me to Disneyland or SeaWorld, or she just wanted me to have good memories because she knew that I wouldn't have those kind of memories with Richard because he was just a really sad person. Now, I don't really have a lot of photos after like age 9 with Richard. All I have left is like this bowl cut one. I honestly look like a boy a lot of my childhood, so you can laugh at that as a treat. So his health deteriorated really fast, and like all the happy times were gone after that. His pill addiction like seriously caught up with him. He had diabetes and his organs were failing. He had countless ailments, and he did nothing to rectify these problems. He just kept eating like crap and not taking care of himself. Like, he didn't move, he didn't walk, he didn't do anything. He just slept, took pills, and ate junk food. So like by 10, like I had learned to switch his oxygen tanks. He was on Apria Healthcare, and they came and brought oxygen tanks. So I learned how to use his machine, switch out his oxygen tanks. I had to administer insulin shots. I had to dole out his medicine for him. I had to cut it up, break it up. I was a live-in nurse. I was like 10. Should not have been doing any of that stuff. So then it got to the point where he wouldn't even walk. He would just drive me to the grocery store, and like I would have to write checks and like grocery shop by myself. Like pushing carts around by myself as a kid. Like honestly, getting kidnapped probably would have been a better life situation for me. And every time I would check out, the cashiers would be like, "Are you here by yourself? Are you alone? Oh, but no, my dad's in the car. He can't walk. Well, he needs to come in to sign this check." And I was like, by then I learned how to forge all his signatures. So I was like, "He already signed it." And they're like, "Okay." It was a nightmare. I like missed more than half the school year for like the next 3 years because he wouldn't get up and take me to school. And I would, call the office and I'd be like, "Hey, I'm not going to be at school today." And they'd be like, "Sweetie, you need to have your dad call." I'd be like, "Okay, well, when he wakes up from his pill overdose, I'll let you know." So I didn't get to walk at my 8th grade graduation. I didn't get to attend the ceremony. That was my punishment. And there's no way I could tell them, like, "I'm not skipping school. Like, I'm a kid and my dad won't take me to school." So what was I supposed to do? My grandparents lived on the other side of town and they didn't want to help. And my brothers were off living their own life. Like, that's it. Then what are they supposed to do? Live with me and take care of me? That's not their job. Just like it's not my job to take care of my father. So, it is what it is. But, I had like one really strong light in my life. And I don't even know if she knows how like wonderful she was to me. But Nikki, my best friend, she was the only one that kept my head above water. She'd come over and we would play all weekend. And she was honestly like my release from being an in-home nurse. Like, when she was around, I could be a kid. I could play games, I could go outside, I could do fun things because I wasn't tied to a sick person. I wasn't tied to, taking care of someone and not being able to have a kid-like freedom. She'll always be my best friend. And I don't think she understands how she pulled me for some really dark places. I remember being like 11, and I remember thinking, that I could just take a handful of my dad's pills and I would go to sleep and I would never wake up. And I thought that on several different occasions, just when things got really bad. And I was like, I was way too young to be thinking thoughts like that, and that would have been a better release than having to live with what I was living with. And I kept all that into myself. Like, who was I going to talk to? My 11-year-old friends who are playing sports? My 11-year-old friends who are, you know, having fun? Like, spent a lot of time alone as a child. And I was a very lonely kid. So that made me weird. That made me the weird kid. And so I didn't have a lot of friends. And when you go to a Catholic school and your parents are divorced, you live with your dad, not a lot of girls get to come over and spend the night at your house because their parents are like, oh, that's weird, you live by yourself with your dad, your parents are divorced, shame on you. So that sucked, but it is what it is. So then his health really started getting bad, and then in October of 2005, he passed away. And I was just starting my freshman year of high school, so, like, I was already weird. I was starting high school, like, what next? So my mom came to pick me up, and with her then boyfriend, now husband, Howard, and I loved Howard. I love Howard. I still love Howard. I think he's the best dad ever. I call him dad. I mean, he stepped in when someone stepped out. So I met Howard and I loved him, like, immediately. He was nothing like Richard. He worked. He hung out with me and my mom. He had a personality, and he was really nice to me. Like, people were not nice to me, so that was really awesome. I just lost my dad, a school, my friends, my whole life was different, and moving to California and just starting all over, man, that was really hard. So, like, I was super used to living off of, like, instant potatoes and ramen noodles, and, like, I had to fend for myself. I hadn't had a home-cooked meal in years, and I was so skinny. I was stick thin, and when I moved in with my parents, I gained like 70 pounds, like that. I had snacks and fresh fruit and fresh veggies, and like, it was wild. It was just wild to me. We would go to the grocery store together. I didn't have to shop. I didn't have to pay. I would pick out things and my mom would buy them, and then I got to eat them. It was just wonderful. Wonderful. So, during this time, I got in contact with my birth mom, Danelle, when I was like, I don't know, 14, 15, maybe 16. And we wrote letters back and forth. And mind you, the only interaction I had had with her before then was when I was like 11. Richard dropped me off at her trailer, not her mobile home, her trailer. And there was a big dog out front that was like going crazy, a big Rottweiler, Buddy, I think his name was. And he just like dropped me off and left me. He was like, this is your birth mom, I'll be back in a little while. I found out later he was going out to get some pain pills. Shocker. But he left me with her. And like, the thing that I remember most about this is like, I didn't know what to talk about. We had nothing in common. She sat me down on a table with her and she taught me how to roll cigarettes. Like, non-filtered tobacco, roll up your cigarettes. She had a little thing, and like, she had me help her roll cigarettes. I was 11. And then she was like, I guess she must have noticed me like staring at her teeth, because I was like looking at her, and she was like, don't brush your teeth too hard or your teeth will end up like mine. And I remember being 11, like, I don't think that's why your teeth are like that, but that's some good advice, Mom. Anyway, so we kind of reconnected and wrote some letters, but we don't have much in common. Our lives are too different, and I just think that, you know, you leave toxic situations behind for a reason. So it is what it is. And also during this time, I was receiving articles about my brother Eric, who didn't handle my father's passing very well. And he's already like clinically diagnosed bipolar, so he went to a birthday party where some family was, took a gun, got upset about something, and shot and killed my uncle and injured my cousin. So he went to prison for a little while, and we have just recently reconnected on Facebook. But again, I don't have much in common with these people, because after I moved to California, none of them reached out to me. None of them tried to get a hold of me. I was only like I was 14. I was 14 years old. I wasn't old enough to carry on relationships with these people. I wasn't old enough to extend myself out to them. They should have been reaching out to me if they wanted a relationship. And nobody did. So, you know, we just have nothing in common. We had nothing in common. We still have nothing in common. It's nice to know that those people are there and they're doing well. And that's just where we'll leave it. So anyway, life with my mom was awesome. I had friends over. She let me go to friends' houses. I had the childhood that I never had. I'm living like this 9-year-old fantasy at 15, 14. It was awesome. So I just don't think like my pubescent mind could handle like all these changes and my newfound freedom. So I just like, I really wanted more. But my mom was a strict parent, and she, you know, she was like, you can't be on the phone past 9, and you're not allowed to date yet. You have to have curfew. And those are like normal rules, but I had gone from like being on house arrest as a child to like getting to have some freedom. So like those rules, I was like, oh God, no, please don't send me back to the dark place. So I like rebelled, and I wanted to do my own thing and be my own person, and I wanted to see how that felt. So when I was like 17, like a week before my 18th birthday, I moved out. I was dating this guy, and his parents were really awesome, and his family was really nice, and they let me move in with him. And they were awesome. Like, there was no bad blood there between them and my mom. She was grateful for them for letting me in, but my mom and I's relationship was very fragile. Very fragile. Also, my mom had had a stroke, and, you know, she really needed me when I wasn't there, and I will always feel guilty for that. I will never let myself live that down, and that is why I am forever and eternally grateful for her, and I will do anything in my power to make sure that that woman is on a pedestal. As you should with every mother. Love your mothers. So anyway, I was just all over the place at that point. I was just like in toxic friendships, relationships. I was breaking people's hearts, leaving like a path of destruction. It was really, really bad. And so then, like I moved back to Kansas at one point for a few months, and then I moved back to California. I was everywhere. I was like drinking, I was doing drugs, I was smoking cigarettes, I was getting tattoos. I was like la vida loca for sure. So then, my best friend from high school, my beef fry, Miss Rachel, she was like, dude, stop it, get your shit together. And I don't know why, I was just like, oh, you're right. So, moved in with her, and I started working like 3 jobs, and like she's my rock. Like, her and I would go get Taco Bell. We'd have some drinks sometimes, we'd smoke sometimes. Like, I think Taco Bell should have named a burrito after us. We were there so much. And we just had a good time. We dated boys, and we were just, you know, we were being young and reckless, and it is what it is. Whatever. So then, you know, I was working these 3 jobs. I wasn't getting anywhere. I was kind of spinning my wheels, and my godparents had found me on Facebook, and they were like, hey girl, why don't you come back to Kansas, and we'll put you up, and we'll help you get on your feet, and, you know, you can start fresh. And I was like, cool, let's do this. Yes, absolutely, that sounds fantastic. So I packed my happy ass up, and I moved to Pittsburgh, Kansas. I went to Pitt State for a while, and my godparents did the best that they could. I think that they expected me to move in and be like a 12-year-old girl. They thought that they were going to get to dress me up and kind of, not control me, but kind of have like a kid of their own. They never had kids. But they were taking on like a full-on college student that needed to work. So when I got there, I sold my car, and they kind of like gave me a car to use. I changed my phone line onto their plan. I got rid of all my stuff, and they bought me new stuff. So I basically like just gave my life over to them. So then I was working a job at a health center. I was going to school full-time, working full-time. My like schedule didn't allow for much free time. And when it did, I was trying to make friends. I was trying to hang out with boys. I was trying to do my homework. And they didn't like that, and they wanted to monopolize a lot of my time. And so they were like, kicked me out. They were like, get out of here. Like, if you're not going to respect our house, you're going to get out of here. I was like, you're trying to give me a curfew. They tried to give me like a 9 o'clock curfew. I'm like a college kid. I'm 21, and they want to give me a 9 o'clock curfew. So my sweet coworker was like, I have an extra room. Move in. I was like, oh, thank you. So I moved in with her, paid her rent and utilities. She was awesome. I got really back on my feet. And then I met a boy. So, that was pretty toxic for a while, and we broke up like a million times, and then he was like, I'm going back to Wichita, where we're from, and I was like, I'm coming too. So I followed a boy out of town, moved into an apartment, got a really good job for me, and I was self-supporting, so I was alright, I was doing good, and this boy was in and out of my life, in and out of my life, in and out of my life. And in between in and out of my life, I was in some other toxic relationships. And you know what? Sometimes I was the toxic person. I'm not going to say that it's anybody's fault. I wasn't in a good way for a long time. I started abusing alcohol and drugs again, and I wasn't in my right mindset. Well, being in that wrong mindset, I got pregnant. Yes, it happens. So I'm pregnant, and I call my parents. And my mom and I, our relationship it's mended, but it's still pretty fragile. And I think a lot of people in my life walked on eggshells because they knew I was flighty. They knew I was a free spirit. They knew if I didn't like a situation, I was just on to the next adventure. So I think I have a lot of really unfair relationships with people, and I would like to redo a lot of them. And so if you're watching this and I was toxic in your life, or if I've hurt you in any way, I am so sorry. As a really damaged person with a lot of baggage, and I'm sorry. I wish I could take things back, but I can't. So this is me pouring my heart out and letting you know that I want to be a better person. So I told my mom I was pregnant, and she handled it amazingly well. I was 24, so it's not like I was a teen pregnant. But she just knew I needed a safety net, and so did my dad, and I mean, they're awesome, and they called me back, and they were like, hey, you're not gonna do this alone, which is great, because I was panicking, because toxic boy said he wanted nothing to do with me, and nothing to do with the baby, nothing to do with any of it, and I was like, shocker. So my parents were like, you know what, come to Shawnee, Oklahoma. We'll help you. We'll get you all back on your feet. You can go back to school. You can work. You can, we'll help you out. I was like, oh, okay. And as I'm telling this story, I'm just like thanking God that all of these people that were there for me were there for me. Because, God, I was not a good person. I was not a nice person. I was not in a healthy mindset. And these people took me on, and like, thank you. Thank you so much. And I just, man, I will always be grateful for the people in my life that helped me. So if you're watching this and you've helped me, thank you. Thank you so much. I'll send you a gift basket. I'm lying. I don't have any money. So anyway, I moved to Shawnee, and I went to school, finished my schooling. I got a job at a health clinic, and and then I met Brandon, and Brandon is wonderful, and he's patient, and he's sweet, and he's kind, and he's nice, and he's caring, and I'm being really mushy, and I want to stop, but he's wonderful, and he, getting pregnant with Charlie grounded me. Having Charlie really grounded me. Charlie filled a hole in my life that I didn't know that I had, but Brandon put all the pieces together. So it was just a really awesome, supernatural happening that made my life whole. I never imagined myself in a million years having kids. And I didn't think I would ever get married. Like, I'm just not that type. But as soon as I had Charlie, my whole life shifted. I suddenly was needed by somebody needed my constant attention. I love being a mom. And I didn't think I would, I didn't think I wanted to, and I guess I needed that. God was like, girl, you need it, you need something. And I was like, give me a dog? No. So I had Charlie, and it was wonderful, and Brandon and I moved in together, and then we got engaged, New Year's 2019, and yeah, it's been bliss ever since then. I haven't had any dark thoughts, I haven't abused alcohol or drugs, I've got some really wonderful relationships, I have no toxic relationships in my life, I don't seek them out, I don't put myself in situations that are made to fail. I started my own small little business. I'm very driven to be better. And it's all because of Charlie and Brandon. They're wonderful people in my life, and I never, ever, ever want to lose them. And my mom. She is my idol and my hero, and she's pulled herself out of really dark places, and if she can do it, so can I. And I have a really good support system. And I know that when I'm feeling dark or blue, or when I'm going towards the bad place, I reach out to those people. I tell my mom about it. I tell Brandon about it. And I talk it out. And, you know, I really make the effort to make myself better. So, if this story interested you in any way, congratulations for making it all the way through. I'll send you a gift basket. Just kidding. Remember, I don't have any money. But yeah, so I guess if you have a crazy story about your life and you want to share it, share it. And if any of this confused you and if you have any questions, I guess you can ask them and I'll answer them. I'm a pretty open book. Alright, thanks for watching, everybody. Bye.